Welcome again to this fantastic session about startups, investment, technology, and blockchain. I'm very lucky to be surrounded by Gabriele from Kibi, am I right? Vincent from Scale Up Factory, and the session will be hosted by Adeleh, who is a strategist, specialist in marketing, and also working for the ITU in Geneva. So Gabriele, you created Kibi. It's quite a unique way to use the blockchain compared to all the things that we've been speaking this morning, NFT, everything else. I think you went to a completely different direction. Vincent, your investment fund Scale Up Factory, is really focused also on very cutting edge technologies with AI, entertainment, and creative tech. So we're really glad to have both of you around the table today.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks.
So Gabriele, maybe tell us more about Kibi and how you decided to go into the loyalty and reward system with the blockchain.
Sure. Basically, we started Kibi after university, and the main thing that bothered us was really seeing all this advertising money. I think more than $500 billion yearly that is being spent in ads that are really just bothering customers and not really bringing value to their lives. And our main idea was really to bring that value back to the customer. And of course, loyalty programs or incentive systems are a very easy tool and a well-known tool that companies use to basically transfer the value. By using blockchain technology, we can actually leverage the whole market, create an whole ecosystem around it, and actually unlock really hundreds of billions of dollars worth of miles, points, rewards that can be really flown back into the economy through our platform and through all these loyalty programs.
I see. So 500 billion per year, is it?
In ads, they're being around spend 500 billion per year, yeah, and I think loyalty market there are around 450 billion dollars worth of points, miles, rewards, and so on that are actually not being used. So the amount that is being issued is even bigger, and so there is a huge purchasing power behind all these loyalty programs. And if you think about these times of COVID, bringing that value back to merchants and companies, it's a huge value for the whole economy.
How did you enter blockchain? What was the trigger?
I mean, there were different triggers. We had an early investor that is on board. He invested pretty early into blockchain, so he understood the market pretty well. Our tech lead, he started, I think, mining and then working on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on very early on. So we had that, let's say, influence or inspiration from that side, understanding the loyalty market very well from the experience that we did. We really saw that it makes a lot of sense to actually use blockchain and tokenization of assets to actually tokenize all these rewards.
I see. And today, what are the main groups? Can you give us an example of how basically you can transfer from one company to the other?
Sure, yeah. So one of the most recent examples, it's actually also from the French part of Switzerland, is a Swiss luxury watchmaker, Louis Erard. They basically enable their customers to receive Louis Erard points when they buy a watch. Now, if you're not a collector and you don't need the next watch in 3 or 6 months, you can actually exchange these points in miles from Miles & More, Etihad Guest, so that you as a customer basically get more value out of it. And of course, Louis Erard as a brand can keeping you engaged and gets more data out of it, sees you, how are your behaviors with the flying, for example, what kind of airlines are you using, and so on. So it's always about keeping customers engaged, learning more about the customer, and keeping that relationship.
So the incentive for a company to agree to basically enter would be also that they will be able to get more data if they enter that.
Of course, yeah. I mean, on one side, you want to boost customer loyalty so that you can retain your customers and keep them more near to your company, learn more about them. And on the other side, you want to push a new customer acquisition. Now, by connecting 2 different loyalty programs, for example, Louis Erard and Miles & More, Etihad Guest, I'll make an example. These 2 frequent flyer programs have together around 37 million users or members. So for Louis Erard, it's a huge customer acquisition tool if you actually can tap these kind of ecosystems, where usually they would need a huge amount of budget to get near those frequent flyer programs, and they would need to wait 9 to 12 months to actually get onboarded. With us, they don't have any minimum volume that they have to spend, and they are integrated in 2 to 3 weeks, depending how fast they are. So for them, it's a huge value on every level.
I see. And those happen in the real world. And what about metaverses? How are your companies thinking about that? Do you see yourself creating loyalty rewards within virtual spaces?
I mean, we're observing the whole market very, very cautiously on one side because we want to understand what is really the value. There's a lot of hype around crypto, around NFTs, around metaverse and so on, and it's really what kind of substance can you actually take out, and you can work with that because it's long term. There is a huge amount of value. If you look at how crazy the gaming industry got into the last few years, esports, for example, it's just huge how virtual the world is getting, and I don't think that it will stop just with gaming. And I mean, we saw today with Birdly, for example, what you can do with virtual reality. I think it will go more and more and more in that direction, so that you will have a duplicate of the reality in the metaverse, and you will have to engage as a company in both worlds, because otherwise you will just lose in one or the other.
So it could be seamlessly rewarded with points that you make in real life and that you use in the virtual life.
Right. Yeah, correct.
Interesting.
Vincent, you're pairing creativity with innovation and technology, using humanized algorithm and data analysis with soft science. Tell us more about your projects.
Many thanks, Adeleh. I think just to build upon what you were saying, I think it's urgent in the ad tech sphere that you stop spamming and that you get into, let's say, personalized, dynamic content recommendation. I think what you are doing in the loyalty side of things is really contributing to that, so thanks a lot for that. So my main activity is at the Scale Up Factory, so it's my fund. It's a seed venture capital fund that invests specifically in the transition between startup and scale up. So we tend to nurture and to support future European scale-ups in the sector of creative tech. And creative tech, I mean by that, the junction between the creative industries, so obviously gaming that you referred to, that is one of the strengths of Europe, films, music, but also edutainment and lifestyle intersecting with creativity. So that's really the core of what we do.
Okay, and what do you think about technology? How is it affecting creativity? Because nowadays we are seeing that more and more things are getting digitalized, and we are using a lot machine learning as well. We are using algorithms a lot. Where's the role of creativity in there?
Yeah, I think there is kind of a master-slave relation with technology, right? I think that technology has its own pace and rhythm and imposes a lot to its user and the company utilizing it. Yet I hope and I believe, I try to believe that we have, as technologists or as entrepreneurs also, a lot of margin to influence and to orientate this technology in a direction where it does empower creative at scale and not lock people into, not futures that we would not wish to see happening. So I'm advocating in a way for, let's say, inclusive, sustainable, positive futures. But I think there are also many threats in technologies, and we have to take them into account. So as regard to creativity, I think that creativity, if we take that at the core, it makes us human better. I think I'm interested in this and in the intersection of creativity and creative sectors with larger markets. We spoke about education before, with the massive shift of 2 billion people studying online or working online in the recent months. There are many of these sectors that are interesting.
And how about your job? I'm interested in blockchain. I'm not very expert as Salar is, but how do you see the role of creativity and how creativity can benefit actually from technology?
I think I agree with you. I mean, it's a bit. The question is, how do you actually use technology? Because at the end of the day, it's an enabler, and the question is a bit, what are you doing with it? And I always say, if you get a hammer, it's your decision what you're going with it to do with it. You can do bad with it, you can do good with it. The hammer itself is not bad. So I would say the same thing for technology. Technology is not bad as itself, but of course there are thousands of use cases that you can do with blockchain, with AI, with other technologies, and it really depends on which one do you focus on. It can bring value, or it can destroy a lot of value. So I think generally it really pushes more creativity because it gives you so many more opportunities and so many more use cases that you can work on.
I see. Maybe we spoke before of the idea of a second renaissance, and I think this is something that is, popping from many places in the ecosystems, notably Jack Conte from Patreon, that is now valued at $4 billion. I think there are some very strong reasons why we speak about this. I think the creative tools used to work on creativities are becoming common, or becoming a commodity, so to speak. So that means we have an extraordinary power now to use, not only, like if you do films or videos or whatever, or AR, XR, you have fantastic tools that are very cheap now. But you have also very powerful digital toolboxes that you can use. AI is part of that. Now, I wanted to say a word about that because I think there is an opposition now between the good old artificial intelligence concept and what I would call more augmented intelligence, right? And I think we are in a path where humans are getting augmented, and it's our responsibility to try to impact in which direction. And I think that Europe has a role to play in directing this. So it's not neutral choices.
Augmented intelligence, it's more seen, maybe as far as I know, in the medical pharmaceutical sector. And how do you see this maybe new topic coming to art world and being used in the art world?
Yeah, I think the art world has gained tremendous momentum in the last year. I mean, when I speak about creative tech, for example, it's not a small market. If you look at the medical sector, fintech, biotech, VCs traditionally, venture capital sees that as a very natural fit with their path, where they come from, and in terms of market size. But if you look at what sector brought the most, was the most profitable for venture capital in Europe in the last 6 years, it's not fintech, it's creative tech. And that comes as a surprise for many players because you count on giants. So you name Spotify, 60 billion plus. You have Supercell's king in kind of the gaming world, but you also have new edtech giants like a unicorn called Kahoot, for example. So edutainment/enterprise, so to speak. And we see this sector bringing like an 8-9x on the investment that is being done in this sector. So I think now there is a way that this sector are not only for professionals, for example. So when we speak about augmented intelligence and the way the creators can use AI and technology to empower their work, it's basically to allow them to create. It's allowing them to be semi-professional or to earn from what they are creating. And we speak about hundreds of millions of people that can do that now. So we are not in the scheme anymore professional and amateur. We see a lot of flexibility, and with the help of you guys on the blockchain side and what is happening in the NFT side also, we see some scheme that can also, in a fair way, retribute their creation and get them paid, which was a huge problem in the art sector, and it still is in music and in other sectors where notably the author rights system is not functioning as it should. So we see like strength and growth, but also fairness coming massively towards creator in this field.
Okay, and do you see any challenge in that field? Since you're now mentioning about your projects that are related, do you see any challenge regarding the acceptance of people or the society for this change?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of fears to be dealt with. We are using AI and very advanced technologies in our daily lives, and they are mainly driven by large corporates, right? That are using these technologies with a lot of many brains and a lot of manpower behind. And I think I see that the challenge for me is that people realize what is at stake and also capture the value on a platform base so that creators themselves can fight with even weapons when it comes to their work and what will be imposed on the society afterwards.
Because one thing that comes to my mind for maybe both of you is this topic that we talk a lot about is the digital transformation and digital divide and how to bridge the gap. And maybe there's technology is helping a lot, of course, to bring innovation and to help people to learn faster, to improve themselves. But do you think that actually humans are upgradable?
I'll let you start.
And so I have a few investments that are really working on upgradability of humans, but you don't necessarily have to speak in a futurist way about implants and scary things. You have a lot of companies. Elon Musk is working on Neuralink. You have like Brian Johnson working on kernel, and European startups also being involved in this field. So I think there is the fact to have access to a broad sense, to have a supercomputer in your pocket, to have access to Wikipedia if you want to, you digitize basically this huge library, encyclopedia in one thing. Now, I have one startup that I'm working on, for example. I can even show some demos of that if you allow me. Yes, this one, for example, is working in EdTech. So basically, you take any text, any videos, or any audio into the machine, and basically it will trigger an enriched, text of it. It will allow you to basically do the good old Stabilo bus automatically, to have, automatic summaries of the text. So the famous report that you need to read for tomorrow, you can do it in 10 minutes, and then you can basically trigger, questions at scale. So these flashcards and interaction. That's, for example, an open road to off-road learning, right? You could do self-paced learning and enable hundreds of millions of people to learn by themselves, following their own pace. So I think the upgradability is not coming through something that is invasive or violent necessarily. It will come. Technology gets very powerful, and we can use these tools to upgrade ourselves, so to speak. So this one, for example, on the human augmentation side, will allow you to feel different directions as a sixth sense. It helps you to exchange haptic emojis between people, and even to feel the heartbeat of a person in the world, and that's fully automated, and it's market ready now. So, yeah. One other example I wanted to show is this psychographic profiling of Quincy Jones that we did with AI. So that's a way actually we ran the discography of Quincy in the AI machine. In a fraction of a second, it brought a very comprehensive, detailed psycho-emotional profile of the producer, and we knew with this who he is, and it took below 1 second to get that. And I showed him that, and he was really excited. He said, "I want to invest in that, and I want to bring emotions to music consumptions." And this is now a technology that is implemented by majors in the music sector, and that will find its way to the mainstream. So I think it's to enrich with technology the services that we all use in our daily lives.
Okay.
I completely agree. I mean, if you think about how cheap information got in the last 20 years, there is so much knowledge out there, and you really can get it with the click of your finger. So I think that technology is helping a lot to actually balance out this level that you have. So I think it's a key component to actually get there. And as he said, I mean, there are different. The question is a bit more who is willing to put the money in these kind of companies. That's why you have VCs and investors, and they're willing to take the risks with the entrepreneurs to actually make that happen, because you won't have governments that suddenly say, you know what, let's invest a lot of money in innovation. You really need those pioneers that start building something small, and then get investors on board that are able to take the risk and really think long term, because it's really a long term game. I mean, if we're talking about blockchain, robotics, virtual reality, AI, we're talking about 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years where you really see the full development of these kind of technologies. Same with the internet. You didn't see the full development of the internet 20 years ago.
I think it's something where we can also take the VC lens a bit on this front. There are, the pioneers are really those that succeed commercially on that. And when you speak about VR, AI, something that started, like we spoke this morning about NFT, and Quincy just launched one that is very successful with 63 million. It's kind of concrete, but this is, as was said this morning too, it's a bit chaotic at the beginning. It takes years until the technology mature, and there is the right time to invest in more mature technologies, and that's what VCs do. Now, if we look at the different sectors, I was referring to EdTech before, Europe is very late. Is behind. So you find unicorns that are coming from China, from India, from the US, with growth capital, so people investing proper ticket of 50 million plus. But in Europe, we did not understand a lot of things on social media, on education, on many things, and therefore we lose in the global competitive game that we are facing.
We do not have one single company in the top 10 of 10 companies, right, in the world, in Europe.
The
In
top
Europe,
10?
we don't have a single one, right?
NFT.
No, in technology.
No, there is no. China and
I
US.
think we should be proud of our successes. So the World Wide Web was invented in Geneva. We have Logitech is a giant in this space. I would still categorize it in the creative tech, and it's booming now. We have, as I said, in ed tech in different sectors. So we have in terms of culture tech, a lot of the key references globally are European. So I think we should be proud of this value and carve them in a way that we can,
for sure.
exploit them a lot.
I think if you want to be competitive on a global scale, long term, you just need that. You just need to be willing to fail and to invest that money on a like the Chinese and like the US, because if you look at US investors, completely different scale and economics behind valuations, financing rounds, and so on. And the appetite for risk is so much bigger. And I think that is something that Europe really has to change to actually be competitive again.
And we are fragmented, so we don't have this global,
That's
united.
Yeah, that's even more.
But we have a bigger market. I think one sector is close. It's a bit closer to me, but where Europe really had the leadership is music. So SoundCloud was not a big success, but it was massive, and Spotify is the leader, and it's a little company from Stockholm that became the leader, and I think this is showing us the potential. There will be some new unicorns in this field in the next weeks or in next months, let's say. So Believe Digital will be valued at around 2 billion. It's going to be IPO'd later this year. You find massive fundraisers now. For example, Epidemic Sound in also in Stockholm. I don't know if it's Netherlands or Sweden, but they raised 450 million on a 1.6 billion valuation. In different, so these type of numbers, now we see the raise being consequent, and there is appetite and there is money to do things. So I think we should move quickly, take very good decisions, and move forward. I mean, both in gaming, films, music, everywhere you see great things happening. And a few weeks ago, Crunchyroll was acquired for 1.2 billion. It's a specialized OTT, channel for film for kids. 1.2 billion. So the numbers are there. It's just taking the opportunity and making things happen.
What about you? What's if you had to say the key thing that makes you kind of go to the step and sign and invest in a company? What's the decisive factor for you?
So I'm a bit dissident for that, because I like to get my hands dirty. So I need to find passion in what the vision that the entrepreneur wants to put out in the world, and I need to see how I can leverage the skills of my network to grow, to bring growth and multiply things. So I have this. I'm invested at seed and pre-Series A stage, which means that I prepare or I contribute to the entrepreneur being ready for Series A and Series B. So I look at this at the European level, because I think the nationalist or the regionalist scheme and reflexes that are totally human and normal, I think they are a bit a barrier or blocking us to see the opportunity in the sector. If you take a very specific sector, NFT in this or blockchain in this, you want to have the Europe as your playground to understand who are the 20 companies that are the best in this, and then find synergies between them, choose the best pick, and then fully put your work to empower them. And so I'm European in the perspective, and more get your hand dirty and make things happen. Yeah.
So thank you.
Thanks for allowing us to share between real humans in normal setup. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for your participation and for all the energy and innovation you're bringing to Europe, because indeed it's very important that we are in the European continent and we're able to be at the forefront. Thank you guys. Thank you, Adeleh.
Thank you very much. Thank you.